The aliens came on a Tuesday morning. They did not come with bombs or guns. They came with gifts and promises. Their ships were beautiful, like drops of silver falling from the sky. Within 1 month, every government on Earth had surrendered. Not because humans were weak, but because the aliens offered something no human leader could refuse: perfect order, perfect peace, and the end of all war. The aliens called themselves the Veth. They were tall creatures with hard shells like insects. Their eyes were large and dark, made of many small parts that could see in every direction at once. They had ruled 1,000 planets for 1,000 years. They knew exactly how to control other species. And their method was simple. They used the collars. The collar was a thin band of metal that wrapped around a person's neck. It was warm and soft, almost like skin. But inside, it was alive with tiny machines that connected to the human nervous system. These machines could read everything: heart rate, blood pressure, brain waves, skin temperature. Every tiny change in the body that happened when a person felt something. Fear made the collar glow yellow. Anger made it glow orange. Sadness made it blue. And hope, the most dangerous emotion of all, made it glow bright white. The Veth had learned over many centuries that rebellion always started with hope. When slaves began to hope, they began to plan. When they planned, they fought. So the Veth watched for hope like hawks watching for mice. When a collar turned white, drones came down from the ceiling. The hopeful one was taken away. No one ever saw them again. In the city of Seoul, in the land once called Korea, a young woman named Yuna stood in a long line. She was 24 years old. Before the Veth came, she had studied the human brain at university. She had wanted to become a scientist. Now she was just another body waiting to be tagged. Her younger brother Taiho stood beside her. He was 21, with strong shoulders and angry eyes. Their parents had died in the first week of the invasion. Not from violence, from despair. Their father's heart had simply stopped. Their mother had followed him 3 days later. Taiho had not stopped being angry since. The line moved slowly. At the front, Veth workers were fitting collars onto human necks one by one. Some people cried. Some people screamed. Most people just stood silent, their eyes empty, already broken. Yuna watched a man 6 places ahead of them. He was maybe 40 years old, with gray in his hair and deep lines on his face. His hands were shaking. She could see his fear from where she stood. And then, just for a moment, his fear changed to something else. His jaw tightened. His eyes grew hard. He was thinking about fighting. His collar, which had been glowing pale yellow, suddenly flashed bright orange. The Veth overseer stopped walking. It turned its large, dark eyes toward the man. It made a sound like breaking glass, a language humans could not speak. 2 drones dropped from the ceiling like metal spiders. They grabbed the man under his arms and lifted him off the ground. He tried to scream, but one drone covered his mouth. In 3 seconds, he was gone, carried through a door that closed behind him with a soft click. The line stood frozen. Yuna felt her brother's body go stiff beside her. She looked at his collar. It was starting to change color, shifting from blue toward orange. He was angry. He was so angry. And if he stayed angry for 3 more seconds, the drones would come for him too. She grabbed his wrist hard enough to hurt. "Breathe," she whispered. "Think about the ocean. Think about waves. Think about nothing." Taiho closed his eyes. His chest moved slowly. In, out, in, out. Yuna watched his collar. The orange faded. It became yellow, then pale blue. Safe, calm, empty. "Good," she said. "Keep breathing. Don't think. Don't feel. Just breathe." The line started moving again. When it was Yuna's turn, A Veth worker took her by the shoulders and pushed her into a metal chair. The worker was smaller than the overseers, with thin arms and quick movements. It did not look at her face. She was not a person to it. She was just another animal to be marked. The collar came down around her neck. At first it felt cold. Then it grew warm. Then it began to dig in, not through her skin, but through her nerves. She felt it connecting to her spine, to her brain, to every part of her body that created feeling. For a moment, she saw colors that had no names. She felt the collar learning her, mapping her, memorizing what her fear felt like, what her joy felt like, what her hope felt like. Then it was done. She stood up. Her legs were weak. Her vision was blurry. But she walked forward, out of the line, out of the building, into the gray light of the occupied city. Taiho came out a few minutes later. His face was pale. He touched the collar around his neck like it was a snake that might bite him. "They can see everything," he said. "Everything we feel. How can we live like this? How can we fight?" Yuna did not answer. She was watching the sky, where Veth ships moved slowly like silver clouds. She was thinking about what the collar had done when it connected to her brain. It had learned her. But in that moment of connection, she had learned something too. The collar did not read minds. It read bodies. It measured heartbeats and hormones and electrical signals. It could tell what she was feeling by watching how her body reacted to feelings. But what if the body could be taught to lie? What if she could feel rage while her heart stayed calm? What if she could hold hope so deep inside that her blood never changed, her skin never warmed, her brain never sparked? It was a small thought, a dangerous thought, the kind of thought that could get her killed if her collar caught even a glimpse of it. So she buried it deep. She covered it with gray thoughts, empty thoughts, thoughts of nothing at all. She let her mind become like still water, with the dangerous idea hidden at the bottom where no one could see. "We go home," she told her brother. "We work. We obey. We wait." "Wait for what?" Taiho asked. Yuna looked at him. Her collar was glowing soft blue, the color of perfect obedience. "Wait until we learn to lie," she said. 3 years passed under the Veth rule. The world changed in ways that made the old world feel like a dream. The Veth sorted humans into groups. Workers grew food and built machines. Breeders made children to replace the workers who died. Thinkers solved problems that the Veth found too boring to solve themselves. Each group wore a different mark on their collar. Each group lived in a different part of the city. No one was allowed to leave their area without permission. Yuna was marked as a worker. Every day, she woke at sunrise and walked to the protein farms outside the city. The farms were huge buildings filled with vats of green slime. The slime was alive, made of tiny creatures that grew fast and could be turned into food. Yuna's job was to watch the vats and clean the pipes. It was boring work. It was meant to be boring. The Veth did not want humans to think too much. Taiho worked in the same farm. He had learned to control his anger over the 3 years. His collar rarely changed color anymore, but Yuna could see the fire still burning behind his eyes. He had not forgotten. He was just waiting. They both were. One night, after a long shift at the farm, Yuna found a note in her pocket. She did not know how it got there. The note had only 3 words and an address. Still water waits. She knew she should throw the note away. She knew that going to a strange address was dangerous. If the Veth caught her breaking curfew, she would be taken. If her collar showed too much curiosity, she would be taken. But something about those words called to her. Still water. That was exactly what she had been trying to become for 3 years. Someone else understood. She told Taiho she was going. He wanted to come with her, but she refused. One person breaking curfew was a risk. Two people was a death sentence. She made him promise to stay home, to keep his collar calm, to wait for her. Then she went into the night. The address led her to the old part of the city, where buildings still showed damage from the invasion. She walked down broken streets and climbed over piles of stone until she found a temple. It had been a Buddhist temple once, a place of peace and prayer. Now its roof was gone and its walls were cracked. But a light was glowing in the basement. She went down the stairs. Inside, she found a room full of people. They sat in a circle on the cold floor, their eyes closed, their breathing slow. Their collars all glowed the same soft blue. Perfect calm. Perfect emptiness. At the center of the circle sat an old man. His hair was white and thin. His face was covered with wrinkles. His hands rested on his knees like he was made of stone. When Yuna entered, he opened his eyes and smiled. "You found us," he said. "I am Dongsu. Sit." Yuna sat. She looked around at the other people. Men and women of all ages. Workers and thinkers. All of them breathing slowly, all of them perfectly still. "What is this place?" she asked. "This is the Temple of the Still Mind," Dongsu said. "We are learning to lie." He explained everything. Before the Veth came, he had been a meditation teacher. For 40 years, he had studied the connection between mind and body. He had learned how thoughts created feelings and how feelings changed the body. A scary thought made the heart beat fast. An angry thought made the blood hot. A hopeful thought made the eyes bright. The scholars read these body changes. They could not read the thoughts directly. They could only see what the body did when thoughts happened. "So we train the body to do nothing," Dongsu said. "We feel our feelings, but we do not let them touch our flesh. We think our thoughts, but we do not let them change our blood. The collar sees only stillness. The collar sees only blue. And inside, we are free." He called this technique Jam Jam, which meant silent water in the old language. Like water in a deep lake, still on the surface, but full of life below. Yuna began her training that night. It was the hardest thing she had ever done. Dongsu would show her pictures of terrible things. Dead bodies. Burning cities. Children crying. He would make loud sounds behind her without warning. He would say cruel words about her family, about her past, about everything she loved, and she had to feel nothing. Not fake nothing. Real nothing. Her heart had to stay at 60 beats per minute. Her skin had to stay cool. Her eyes had to stay dry. If any part of her body reacted, the collar would see. If the collar saw, the Veth would know. For the first month, she failed every test. Her body was too honest. Her fear was too quick. Her anger was too hot. She went home every night with a headache from trying to hold herself still. But slowly, she began to learn. She learned to separate her outer self from her inner self. When Dongsu showed her pictures of death, she felt the sadness, but she wrapped it in layers of stillness before it could reach her skin. When he made loud sounds, she felt the surprise, but she caught it in her chest before it could speed up her heart. She became two people living in one body. The outer person was empty and calm. The inner person was alive and waiting. After 6 months, she passed her first real test. A Veth overseer stopped her on the way to work and stared at her for 5 full minutes. Her collar never flickered. Her face never moved. The overseer walked away. She had lied to their censors. And they had not known. Dongsu was proud of her. But he also warned her. "The hardest test is still coming," he said. "Someday, someone you love will be hurt in front of you. Someday, you will want to scream, to fight, to die. And on that day, you must be still. You must be water. Or everything we have built will fall." Yuna promised she would be ready, but she did not know that the test would come so soon. She did not know that her brother's name was already on a Veth list. She did not know that in 6 months, Taiho would be taken from her, and she would have to watch with a calm heart and dry eyes. She did not know. But she would learn, and when she learned, she would become something the Veth had never seen before, something they had never imagined possible. She would become hollow, and in her hollowness, she would carry the fire that would burn their empire to ash. The Veth High Overseer of the Eastern Territories had no name that humans could speak. Its true name was a series of clicks and high sounds that human ears could barely hear. So the workers called it the glass. They called it this because of its eyes. The glass had larger eyes than most Veth, dark and shiny like black mirrors. It could stand in one place for hours without moving, just watching, reflecting everything around it. The workers said it could see into your soul. They said it could smell lies. They were half right. The glass had ruled Earth for 7 years. In that time, it had made the planet into a model world. Productivity was high. Deaths were low. The collars showed that 94% of all humans were calm and content at any given time. By every measure the Veth used, Earth was a perfect success. But the glass was troubled. It could not explain why. The numbers were good. The reports were good. Everything looked exactly as it should look. And yet something felt wrong. It was like looking at a painting that was almost perfect, but had one tiny line in the wrong place. The glass could not find the wrong line. It only knew it was there. The humans were too quiet. That was part of it. On other conquered worlds, there were always small rebellions. Workers who snapped and attacked their overseers. Groups who gathered in secret to plot escape. It was normal. It was expected. The callers caught them all, and the drones dealt with them. But on Earth, there was almost nothing. The few rebels that appeared were low-level, badly organized, easily caught. The rest of the humans just worked and slept and worked again. Their collars showed no hope, no anger, no plans. Just blue. Always blue. The glass decided to investigate. It began pulling random workers for testing. It would take them to a small room and show them images designed to cause strong emotions. Pictures of their dead families. Videos of Veth hurting children. Recordings of human screams. Normal humans could not see these things without reacting. Their collars would flash with fear or anger or grief. But more and more often, the collars showed nothing. The glass tested 100 workers. Then 1,000. Then 10,000. The results were strange. Some humans reacted normally, their collars flashing with every expected emotion. But others sat still as stones, their hearts beating slow and steady, their skin staying cool, their collars glowing peaceful blue. The glass studied these strange humans closely. It ran every test it knew. Blood tests, brain scans, collar diagnostics. Everything came back normal. The humans were healthy. Their collars were working. They simply did not seem to feel anything. At first, the glass thought it might be a sickness, a new kind of depression that killed human emotions. It reported this to the Veth Collective, requesting medical research. The collective told it not to worry. Humans were known to be emotional creatures. If some of them had gone quiet, it was probably a good thing. Less trouble. Less trouble. But the glass could not stop worrying. Then it found Yuna. Her file was completely ordinary. Worker class. Protein farm. 5 years of perfect service. No infractions. No warnings. Her collar readings were so consistently blue that she could have been a machine. That was what caught the attention of the glass. No living creature was that consistent. Every being had bad days, moments of irritation, flashes of boredom. But Yuna's readings were flat like a line drawn with a ruler. Either she was not alive or she was hiding something. The glass had her brought to the testing room. Una walked in with empty eyes and loose shoulders. She sat in the metal chair like she had sat in 1,000 chairs before. Her collar was blue. Her heartbeat was normal. She looked at the glass and waited. The glass ran through the standard tests. Images of war, sounds of suffering, smells of burning flesh. Una sat through all of them without a flicker. Her readings stayed perfectly flat. Then the glass did something it had never done before. It spoke directly to her. The glass had learned some Korean from language files. Its voice was wrong, too high and too sharp, but the words were clear enough. "You are lying," it said. Una looked at the glass. Her face did not change. Her heart did not speed up. "I do not understand," she said. "Lying about what?" "I do not know," the glass admitted. "I cannot prove it. Every sensor says you are calm. Every test says you are content. But I have watched your species for 7 years. I know what humans look like when they feel nothing. And you do not look like that. You look like something wearing the shape of nothing." Una was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was a small smile, polite and empty. "Perhaps I have simply accepted my place," she said. "Is that not what you wanted? For us to accept?" The glass stared at her. Its black mirror eyes searched her face for any sign of deception. But there was nothing to find. Her collar was blue. Her body was calm. She was exactly what she appeared to be. And yet, the glass felt something it had never felt before. Something it had only seen in lesser creatures. A cold twist in its stomach. A tightness in its chest. It felt afraid. "You may go," the glass said. Una stood and walked out. She did not look back. She did not hurry. She was just a worker going back to work. But that night, alone in its chambers, the glass made a decision. It would watch this human. It would watch her until it found the truth. Because the glass understood something now. Something that changed everything. The humans were not broken. They were hiding. And if they could hide this well for this long, then the Veth had already lost. They just did not know it yet. 10 years after the invasion, there were 2 million Hollow Ones on Earth. No one knew the exact number. It was safer that way. If no one knew, no one could tell. The Hollow Ones found each other through small signs. A certain way of breathing. A certain stillness in the eyes. When 2 Hollow Ones met, they knew. And they taught others that the teaching happened in whispers. In the rhythm of work. In songs that sounded like old folk music, but carried secret lessons. A mother would sing to her child, and the child would learn to slow their heartbeat. A worker would tap a pattern on a pipe, and another worker would learn to cool their blood. The knowledge spread like water through cracks in stone. Slow, quiet, unstoppable. Una had become the leader of the Hollow Ones. She had not asked for this. Dansu had given it to her when he died in the 7th year. His heart had simply stopped one morning, tired from decades of hiding. Before he closed his eyes for the last time, he had held her hand and smiled. "You are ready," he had said. "Teach them. Free them. And when the time comes, show them what we really are." Una had buried him in secret and taken his place. Now she stood in the central hub of the Soul Processing Center. This was where all the workers in the region came to be counted and sorted. 10,000 humans filled the massive room, standing in lines, waiting to be checked. Veth overseers walked among them, their black eyes scanning for trouble. Drones floated near the ceiling like metal birds. Today was the day. After 10 years of waiting, the moment had finally arrived. The Veth fleet was far away, dealing with problems on another planet. The ground forces were spread thin because Earth had been so peaceful for so long. The overseers here thought they were watching broken slaves. They had no idea they were standing in a room full of fire. Una looked across the crowd. She could see other hollow ones scattered through the lines. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands. Each one waiting for the signal. Each one holding their rage so deep that their collars saw only blue. She thought of her brother Taiho. The Veth had taken him 3 years ago. Not because he had done anything wrong, but because his collar had flickered at the wrong moment. He had been thinking of their parents. Just for a second, he had felt grief instead of emptiness. And that second had cost him everything. Yuna had found him 6 months later, alive but changed. He was in a labor camp in the mountains, working until his bones showed through his skin. When she saw him, she wanted to scream. She wanted to cry. She wanted to kill every Veth in the world, but she did nothing. Her collar stayed blue. Her face stayed empty. And inside, her hatred grew stronger. Now Taiho was free. He was somewhere in the crowd, wearing the face of a broken slave, but carrying the heart of a warrior. Tonight, they would fight together. Una raised her hand. It was a simple movement. Just a hand in the air, like she was stretching tired muscles. But across the room, 100 other hands went up. Then 1,000. Then 10,000. The overseers stopped walking. They looked around at the sea of raised hands. They did not understand. The collars showed nothing wrong. Every human in the room was calm and content. This was just a strange coincidence. Just workers moving at the same time. Nothing to worry about. Then Una spoke. Her voice was not loud, but somehow it carried across the entire chamber. Maybe it was the silence. Maybe it was the way everyone stopped breathing to listen. "We are not broken," she said. "We have never been broken. You taught us to hide. You made us strong. And now we are done hiding." She let go. For 10 years, she had held her true feelings deep inside her body, wrapped in layers of stillness so thick that no censor could reach them. Now she released them all at once. All the rage, all the grief, all the hope, all the fire. Her collar blazed bright red. Defiance, pure, burning defiance. And 10,000 collars blazed with her. The overseers had 3 seconds to understand what was happening. 3 seconds to realize that every reading they had trusted for a decade was a lie. 3 seconds to call for help. 3 seconds was not enough. The humans moved like a wave. Not screaming. Not running. Just walking forward with purpose, grabbing whatever they could use as weapons. Metal bars. Heavy tools. Their own bare hands. The drones tried to respond. They were programmed to identify threats based on collar readings. For 10 years, every human in this building had registered as harmless. The drones had to recalculate, reprioritize, adapt. They were still calculating when the first overseer died. Una did not watch. She was already moving through the chaos, heading for the control room where the main collar transmitter was kept. If she could destroy it, the drones would be blind. Without collar data, they could not tell friend from enemy. They would shut down rather than risk hitting the wrong target. She found the control room door and kicked it open. 2 Veth technicians turned to face her, their eyes wide with something she had never seen in Veth before. Fear. She killed them both before they could move. It was easy. 10 years of holding still had taught her how to move fast when the moment came. 10 years of hiding rage had taught her how to use it. The control panel was in front of her. Buttons and screens covered with symbols she did not understand. But she did not need to understand. She just needed to destroy. She picked up a fallen technician's tool and started smashing. Somewhere above her, drones were falling from the sky. Their lights going dark, their weapons going silent. Somewhere in the streets, workers were pouring out of every building. Their collars blazing red, their voices rising in a sound the Veth had never heard. The sound of humans fighting back. The battle lasted 3 hours in Seoul. It lasted all night in other cities. It lasted 3 days on the other side of the world. The Veth killed many. Millions of humans died in those first terrible days. But millions more kept fighting because the Veth had made a mistake. They had designed their entire system around the idea that emotions could not be hidden. They had built their empire on the belief that if you could measure something, you could control it. They were wrong. By dawn, the Veth were retreating to their ships. By the end of the week, they were fleeing the planet. They left behind mountains of broken drones and rivers of alien blood. Earth was not just free. Earth was awake. And it was hungry. The message reached every corner of the Veth Empire at the same time. It traveled on their own communication systems, using codes that should have been impossible for humans to break. It appeared on screens in military ships and science stations and government buildings. It played in the chambers where the Veth leaders made their decisions. The message showed a human woman standing in the ruins of a processing center. Behind her was a mountain of broken collars, piled higher than a house. The metal bands that had controlled billions of people for 10 years, now nothing but scrap. The woman was Yuna. Her neck was bare for the first time in a decade. Her eyes were calm, but not the empty calm of a slave. This was the calm of someone who had won. She spoke in the Veth language. Her pronunciation was not perfect, but her meaning was clear. You believed you understood us. You believed your sensors could see into our hearts. But you only saw what we wanted you to see. For 10 years, you watched us and saw peace. For 10 years, you measured us and found obedience. And all that time, we were learning how to lie. She paused. Behind her, the first human ships were rising into the sky. They were ugly ships, built in secret from stolen parts and hidden factories. But they flew, and they were armed. You gave us the greatest gift any conqueror could give, Yuna continued. You taught us to control ourselves. Before you came, we were ruled by our feelings. We could not hide our anger. We could not bury our hope. You forced us to learn. You made us masters of our own bodies. And now we will use that mastery against you. The Veth leaders watched in silence. Some of them were already calculating, trying to figure out how to stop the human ships, how to contain the rebellion, how to turn this disaster into an opportunity. But others understood what they were really seeing. They had conquered 1,000 species. They had never lost a world. And now they were watching their empire crack. We are coming, Yuna said on the screen. Not just for our world, for every world. Every species you have collared. Every slave who thinks they are alone. We will teach them what you taught us. We will show them how to lie to your sensors. And one by one, your empire will fall. She smiled. It was not a kind smile. You cannot stop us. You cannot measure what we really feel. You cannot predict what we will do. We are humans. We are chaos wrapped in skin. And we are done being quiet. The message ended. In the great council chamber of the Veth Collective, silence held for a long time. Then the high speakers began to argue. Some demanded that every ship in the fleet be sent to destroy Earth. They would burn the planet to ash and salt the ashes with radiation. No human would survive. Others argued for negotiation. The humans had proven themselves dangerous. Better to give them what they wanted and contain them to their own system. Build a wall of warships around their star and never let them out. But the oldest of the high speakers, a creature that had ruled for 3,000 years, said nothing until the others were finished. Then it spoke in a voice like cracking ice. It is too late, it said. Look at the timeline. The humans did not build those ships in one day. They did not learn our language in 1 week. This rebellion was planned for years, which means there are already humans out there, beyond our reach, teaching others what they know. The council fell silent again. We have been sending human workers to other worlds for a decade, the old speaker continued. Mining worlds, factory worlds, worlds filled with other colored species. We thought the humans were broken. We thought they were safe. We were wrong. It was right. Even as the council argued, the seeds of rebellion were already spreading through the empire. On a mining planet in the Outer Rim, a human worker was teaching a group of colored aliens how to slow their heartbeats. On a factory world near the center, another human was singing a song that carried the secrets of Jam Jam. On 100 worlds in 1,000 camps, the lesson was being passed from mind to mind. You cannot stop rebellion by measuring emotions. You cannot kill hope by watching for it, because hope is not a feeling in the blood or a spark in the brain. Hope is a choice, and any creature that can think can make that choice. Any creature that can learn to hide it. The Veth had ruled for 1,000 years because they believed in their technology. They believed that enough sensors and enough data could control any species. They were the masters of the body, but they had never understood the soul. On Earth, in the temple where Dong-Su had first taught her to be still, Yuna stood before a new generation of students. They were young, born during the occupation, knowing nothing but slavery until a week ago. Now they were free, and they needed to learn. Taiho stood beside her. His body was thin from years in the camps, but his eyes were bright. He had survived. They had both survived. And now they had work to do. The Veth made one mistake, Yuna told the students. They thought that because they could measure something, they could control it. They forgot that the most important things cannot be measured. Love, hate, hope, courage. These things live in the spaces between heartbeats. They hide in the silence between thoughts. No machine can see them. No sensor can catch them. She looked out at the faces before her. Children and elders. Soldiers and scholars. All of them free. All of them learning. We will meet other empires, she said. Other creatures who think they can see into our hearts. And when we meet them, we will show them what we showed the Veth. She touched her bare neck, where the collar had once been. We will show them nothing at all. We will smile while we plan. We will laugh while we build. We will look peaceful while we prepare. And when the time comes, we will rise like a tide and wash their empires away. The students listened. They breathed slowly. They learned. Outside the temple, the sky was filling with human ships. They were not beautiful ships. They were not elegant ships. But they were ships that flew toward the stars, carrying the most dangerous weapon any species had ever created. Not guns, not bombs, not armies. Just people. People who had learned to lie. People who had turned the Veth's greatest tool into their greatest weakness. The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere, on a Veth command ship fleeing Earth at maximum speed, the creature called the Glass watched the human fleet grow smaller behind it. It remembered the woman named Yuna, sitting calm in the testing room, her collar blue, her heart empty. Prove it, she had said. Now the Glass understood. It could not prove anything. It could only measure. And measuring was not the same as knowing. The humans had understood that truth from the very beginning. They had seen the hole in the Veth system and crawled through it. The Glass felt afraid. But more than that, it felt something it had never felt before. Respect. The humans were coming. And the Glass knew, with terrible certainty, that they could not be stopped. Not by sensors. Not by collars. Not by anything the Veth had ever built. Because you cannot collar a heart that knows how to be free. The end.